Hello, my name is Dr. Deb Crislip-Baker, and I'm the Learning Strategies Department Chair and Professor here at Victoria College. In our last video, we discussed how social and behavioral scientists plan and conduct their research, how they determine who to sample or use in their research, what they ask those participants to do, etc. The next step is to interpret the information that came from that research to see what it means. So in today's video, I'm explaining how researchers report their results or findings. So far in our project, we have discussed introductions, the background and purpose section, the research question section, and the methods in gathering data section. This video will focus on the findings or results section, the discussion section, the conclusion, and the works cited section of your research paper. Once you complete this section, your research paper will be complete, and the only thing left to do will be to present your findings to your audience. When I return, we will jump directly into how researchers interpret their results. Victoria College's Total Learning Center presents Dr. Deb Explains, Interpreting Results in Research. In our last video, we discussed how researchers choose their sample participants and what they ask their participants to do. Then, the researchers actually choose the participants and conduct the study. While the researchers perform their designated tasks, the researchers collect information, either observational, anecdotal, or through the collection of surveys and interviews. After they collect this information, they have to see what it all means. In other words, they have to interpret it to see what they have found or discovered that helps them to answer the research question. Usually the findings or results section includes a great deal of statistical information and analysis, but it doesn't have to. Researchers just need to explain to their readers how the participants responded and what it all means. There are many ways to do this, but the easiest and simplest method is usually the best. Let's look at some examples of how other researchers have reported their findings. First, Kim and Ra used a simple table in their research to list the responses of the participants and rank them by their frequency or the number of times they occurred. Strage and Sorkabi remind the readers of the research questions, and then they listed how the participants responded to the survey questions. Bartolomeo Maida used tables to identify the percentage of students who responded to the various options regarding the amount of hours spent reading. Ariel and Karpicki also used a table to show their results for the experiments, although their table includes a bit more statistical data. Miranda used a simpler process to show how many students responded to his items for each of his false beliefs. And finally, Thibodeau and others explain their findings in a paragraph. Regardless of the methods chosen, it's important to show your readers what was found in the research study. This shows that you aren't simply making up the information. Actual participants, just like you and me, participated in these research studies and answered in these various ways. After the findings or results section, there's usually a section labeled discussion. This is where the researchers have the opportunity to explain to the readers what it all means. As you can see by these examples, there are many ways to create a discussion section, but they all basically explain what the research means to the educational community at large in paragraph form. Next, we have a conclusion or some type of written statement that summarizes or ends the research paper. As you can see, not every research paper has a conclusion, but it is nice to wrap up the paper with a nice, clear ending that conveys what the paper was about, why it is important, much like your introduction, and a brief summary of the results or what was discovered in your research. And finally, you must include a Works Cited page in your research paper. These researchers use a references section since they are writing in APA format, but you will include a Works Cited section because you are writing in MLA format. You will need to cite your sources differently depending on the type of source that you are using. A book includes the information shown on this slide in exactly this format: punctuation, italics, etc. A scholarly article or journal includes the information shown on this slide in exactly this format as well. All items in your Works Cited should be listed alphabetically by the first word in the entry. Finally, as shown in the references, you will need to have a hanging indent, which means that the first line is not indented, but every line after that is indented one tab space. It is the exact opposite of the way that you indent your paragraphs. This is how you end your research paper, and this video concludes the portions of the research process. We have gone from an introduction, which tells what we are researching and why it is important, to the background and purpose for the research, to the research question, to our methods, our participants and what they will do, to reporting our findings, to discussing the importance of these findings, to ending or concluding our research, and finally to reporting on the sources that we cited in our paper. Our next video on presentations will be the last video in our series as we explore how to engagingly present our paper to an audience. If you want to know more about the research process, click subscribe and hit the notification bell, and stay tuned for more videos as Dr. Deb explains.